Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Should the All-domain Anomaly Resolution Office continue to exist? Some people believe no, that it's absolutely useless and we're never going to get anywhere with it. And I'm pretty much of the same mindset, I think, because, they had that hearing this week on the Senate committee hearing when we had the new director there, John T. Kozlowski. And basically it's meet the new boss, same as the old boss. That's what I think after thinking about it for a couple of days. The problem with AARO is that Congress established the AARO because to investigate UAP, to provide answers to Congress, to interview whistleblowers, to find out if there's anything to these legacy programs. But the problem is that the Department of Defense, the Pentagon, they're the ones who get to pick the director. So I just don't think we're ever going to get anywhere with this setup. I just don't think it's worth it. It's time to disband it. I think it's absolutely useless. I do believe that the Congress needs to continue holding hearings, but I don't think AARO is going to be helpful one bit. So I think it's time that AARO is just put away. It's time to just, let's do away with it the same way they did away with Project Blue Book, because it's absolutely useless. We're never going to get anywhere with it. I mean, let's think about this. The problem is that the organization in which you want to try to get information about secret information with regards to UFOs and or alien and recovered alien biologics, right? The organization that you have in place for this, it's actually you're letting the people who are keeping the secret pick the person who's the director of it. I mean, basically that's how it's operating. So how is this going to be helpful in the long run? It hasn't done anything so far. Nothing. What they in that hearing that we had a couple of days ago, Kozlowski presented some possible explanations for some of the UAP videos that he was presenting during that, including the Go Fast. Okay, that's all fine and dandy, but how come they don't show us the stuff that they have no explanation for? There's not going to be any sort of disclosure through AARO. And something else that some people pointed out, I didn't realize when we were taught when I did the show the other day, that sitting right beside the new director Kozlowski was Susan Go, the spokesperson for the Department of Defense, and we know that the way she is, she's hostile to this. I mean, obviously under some sort of orders to be hostile to whistleblowers and the allegations that there's a cover up and all that kind of thing. But yet she was there sitting beside him. There's somebody else. Some other people were pointing it out. Actually, if you looked at different news feeds of that, like from the ABC news feed, you could see her sitting there. And it's almost like some people have been talking about on Twitter, I've been reading today. They're talking about how, it looks like she's there to let anyone out there know, if you're a whistleblower, hey, guess what? Maybe it's not a good idea to come forward. And I don't think I would want to talk to AARO if I was a whistleblower. Why would you want to go to AARO? Because basically that's like going to the Department of Defense, the institution in which is keeping this secret, and you're going to go to them and tell them, whistleblow to the people you're whistleblowing on? It just doesn't make any sense. None of this makes any sense, folks. Absolutely nothing of this, nothing related to AARO makes any sense to me anymore. Anyway, I just want to start off here. There was a tweet here from Joe Murgia, the UFO Joe. He's a personality on Twitter who's always talking about UFOs. I always enjoy reading what Joe has to say, for the most part. And anyway, he posted this today. It says, was Go sitting there with the constant side eye toward Kozlowski attempting to increase stigma? I think it worked. After seeing this and hearing some things, my advice to witnesses would be, do not go to AARO. I totally agree with that assessment. Kozlowski may have good intentions, but this is not about him. And then he talks about the Gillibrand follow-up. Kirsten Gillibrand, who was overseeing that hearing, she said this. Murgia writes, important final Q&A. Gillibrand states, is there anything that you need to tell the Senate that you need from us? And Kozlowski says, the only ask that I would have is that you continue to champion us, particularly with witnesses. Encourage them to come forward and report to us so that we can have a more fulsome investigation of the potential historic or ongoing legacy programs. And Joe Murgia says, nope. I agree with Gary Nolan. Disband AARO. Yes, Gary Nolan, the Stanford scientist who has been pretty outspoken about UAP over the last few years. He thinks that AARO should be disbanded, and I agree with him. And Gary actually responded to this post, and he says, I fully agree. I cannot see a reason to go to AARO. They have yet to address past issues, provide methods of analysis, etc. for any of their conclusions. That's simply not how science is done, so don't claim the mantle of science when you are not actually practicing it. And yes, that's a true statement, because I think about when AARO released that historic records report, which the former director, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, his fingerprints were all over that piece of junk. Kirkpatrick, as we all know, he resigned last December. And now just earlier this year, I believe August, is when Kozlowski was named as the new permanent director for AARO. And Kozlowski himself, I mean, he's connected. The other day I read through his biography, and, here's what it is. He serves as the director of the All-domain Resolution Office. Prior to that, Kozlowski held technical and leadership positions within the research directorate of the NSA, National Security Agency. In that capacity, he led advanced mission-oriented research in the fields of networking and computing, and served as a subject matter expert in the area of free space optics, advising various Department of Defense agencies, blah, blah, blah. So basically, this guy, he's connected. He's been connected, and he was their choice to serve as director. And I don't think it's a good idea for whistleblowers to go to AARO, because you're better off trying a different route. Not AARO. Don't go to AARO, because it could be a trap, which is something that I talked about earlier this year, actually last April, if you recall. It was during the month of April of this year. There was a big hoopla about David Grusch. People were claiming, like Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, that AARO wanted David Grusch, the whistleblower, who actually over a year and a half ago now, basically, testified to Congress about the reverse engineering and crash retrieval programs, and that the fact that not only have they recovered alien craft, but actual alien biologics. He testified about all that stuff. And Kirkpatrick was very public about the fact, according to him, the facts according to Kirkpatrick, that David Grusch wouldn't come in and speak to AARO and share with them what he knew. Grusch had previously spoke about what he learned over several years investigating this cover-up, and he had shared that information with the Inspector General of the intelligence community. But the thing was that Kirkpatrick was saying that, although Grusch said he wanted to talk to AARO, right? But Kirkpatrick said, yeah, but we can't contact him, or he won't return our calls or something like that. But we later learned that, yes, there was some communication back and forth between Grusch and AARO officials. However, Grusch was never given any of the things that he needed. There were certain assurances that he sought that the AARO never delivered, and that's why he never spoke with them, because had he spoke to them, there was a chance that he could go to prison. And that was the argument that I put forth in this in a podcast that I published on April 20th of this year, which was called "Grusch Potentially Avoided Prison by Avoiding AARO." And I just want to play a little clip from that podcast here. Check this out. Grusch was concerned. He's expressing concerns. He was trying to get all his ducks in order. He wanted to make sure that everything was going to be okay, that when he went into AARO and he provided the information that they wanted, he wanted to make sure that if something went beyond some aspects of the information that he has, apparently it goes outside of UAP related. In his mind, and he just wanted to get those assurances. AARO never provided him those assurances, and had he gone in there and gave information, potentially, had he given this information, he could end up in big time trouble. This is under Title 18, under Section 798. It says here, disclosure of classified information. Whoever knowingly and willfully communicates, furnishes, transmits, or otherwise makes available to an unauthorized person, or publishes or uses in any manner prejudicial to the safety or interests of the United States or for the benefit of any foreign government to the detriment of the United States any classified information concerning the nature, preparation, or use of any code, cipher, or cryptographic system of the United States or any foreign government, or concerning the design, construction, use, maintenance, or repair of any device, apparatus, or appliance used or prepared or planned for use by the U.S. or any foreign government for cryptographic or communication intelligence purposes, or concerning the communication intelligence activities of the United States or any foreign government, or obtained by the processes of communication intelligence from the communications of any foreign government, knowing the same to have been obtained by such processes, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. And it goes on like that. So if you disclose classified information to someone who's unauthorized to receive that information, then you're looking at potentially a 10-year sentence in prison or a fine. So I could understand why Grusch didn't want to, he wanted to have all his T's crossed and I's dotted. So I don't understand what the issue is here. And there's other aspects to this too. I mean, I'm going to leave links for all of these things. I mean, this is really difficult to try to understand all of this. To try to wade through all of this bureaucratic red tape that actually someone like Grusch has to be concerned about when you're talking about the most highly classified secret the United States has ever had. It's the fact that there's something on this planet that's not human. It's the biggest story of all time, as we all know, and that they are reverse engineering these things, and they are retrieving the crash before they do so, right? And Grusch was just trying to make sure that he wasn't going to get in trouble. I mean, how could you trust AARO? How could anyone trust AARO at this point? I mean, the Pentagon picks Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who's nothing but a puppet for them, obviously, right? He's been lying about all this stuff, obviously, right? Obviously lying about it. He's the one who's been lying. Why do they want Grusch in there so bad? Actually, the inspector. Well, why couldn't they get the information by other means? David Grusch suggested that they get the transcript from the Intelligence Community Inspector General. Why couldn't they do that? Why does he have to go in and speak with them? Why can't they just get the information from via other means? Why was it so important to them? I think it was important. It could have been for the reasons like I'm talking about here. This could have been a way to put him in a trap. I mean, this could be a way to make it that that he's going to end up in trouble over this. Who knows? I mean, obviously, I would be concerned about this, too. Any whistleblower should be concerned. Any whistleblower right now should be concerned about AARO completely at this point, because how could you trust them after reading that bogus report earlier this year? That was junk. And what was the reasoning? Why did they need to have him come in for this so badly? Of course, they wanted to try to. I'm sure that they were going to try what they would have done. They would have done the same kind of job with whatever he told them, with how they presented that historical records report. You would have got the same nonsense like that, or maybe worse. Again, he could have been looking at jail time, looking at prison for up to 10 years, perhaps. You told the wrong people. You don't know, and then maybe they would have. For all we know, they might have blackmailed them with it. I don't. Who knows what they would have done with it? I don't see how anybody could, at this point, like I've said before, I'll say it again, you cannot trust the Pentagon when it comes to UFOs. You just can't trust them, because they're not going to tell you about it. They've been lying about it for all these years, and it doesn't seem, there's most certainly a faction now within the government that does not want this information out, and they'll do anything to keep the status quo. They want to keep things as they are. Now, of course, there's obviously others within the government that want this information out and believe it's time that the world knows about it. That's what it seems like to me. But also, I just want to point out one other thing. John Greenwald at the Black Vault, he actually commented about after the fact. After his article came out yesterday, he wrote on Twitter. He says, "Some people need to come to grips with the absolutely reality." I think he meant to say absolute reality. Some people need to come to grips with the absolute reality that some people inside the government and some of those who used to work for the government are not being fully truthful with us all about UAP/UFOs. Accept that and start asking why. It's beyond time to do so. Let me stop there. You don't know why, John, at this point? At this point in your life, you don't know why? Well, let me tell you something. I'll tell you why, right? Because there's something here, right? And they don't want to talk about it. They've been reverse engineering their craft. They don't want to talk about how they've been lying for all these decades. And let me tell you another thing. When you see these things in action, right? When you see how these the kind of craft are flying around and what these beings themselves are capable of doing, you can understand why the Department of Defense doesn't want to talk about this publicly. So there you go. That was some of the things I was saying back then, and I think that, Grusch did potentially avoid prison by avoiding AARO. I really believe that, and I think that that's the reason why Grusch never went to AARO. I think that's why. And I think any other whistleblower should think twice about going to AARO, because who knows what you're setting yourself up for. You don't know what you're walking into. I mean, the Department of Defense does not want to tell the truth about this. They just do not want to talk about it. And so, the problem is that this group, I mean, if you're going to have some kind of office like AARO, but you're going to have it, you're basically letting it's like Al Capone. Say you had Al Capone investigate himself. I mean, that's what it's like. I just don't see it making any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. And I don't think if I were a whistleblower, I would not trust going to AARO, because you don't know what kind of trouble you might end up getting into. You just don't know. So I think it's time that we just get rid of it. I agree with others. I agree with Gary Nolan. I think it's a complete, absolute waste of time, and it's not going to lead us to any sort of disclosure. They're not going to help in this whatsoever. The only thing that will help is people like the other kind of hearing we had the last week, where you had people like Tim Gallaudet and Lou Elizondo, among others, speaking, right, talking to the House that subcommittee. That's what we need. We need stuff like that. But we need whistleblowers talking to Congress people, not to AARO. I just can't see doing it. Doesn't make any sense to me. AARO's never. I mean, when you look at anybody, right, who has studied this subject, if you were to take a look at that historic records report that they released earlier this year, that thing was absolute garbage, right? They did not provide any sort of background on how they arrived at their determinations with all these different presentations that they made in that, all these different assertions they put forth. They just provided answers and then basically poo-pooed it, including one of the biggest stories of all time, the Roswell incident. Basically, all they did was rehash stuff that the Air Force had brought forth back in the 1990s, and that was the extent of it. AARO is just an arm of the Department of Defense completely. I just don't see how anybody could trust it. It's a waste of time. It's unfortunate, and I don't know. That's all I got to say about it. I mean, the only thing that was good about the hearing the other day is that there was a hearing where we were talking about UFOs. That was it. But we're not going to get anywhere with AARO, and I just think it's time to disband it, because it's completely useless. And if I was a whistleblower, I wouldn't go to that. Why would you? Why would you go to that if you're a whistleblower? Why would you? It doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever. So, I agree with others. I agree with Gary Nolan. I agree with Joe Murgia. Yes, don't go to AARO. It's a waste of time, and AARO is not going to lead us to the promised land, I could assure you. Anyway, moving on, I want to just go over some of the recent Spotify polls. Okay, for the episode Alien in Clown-like Costume Mystifies Youths / Redditor Claims Oompa Loompa Beings Found in Backyard, I asked this question: what explains the Sandown Clown incident of 1973? And there were multiple choices here that you could have picked. So far, there's 32 votes, and with 23 days left. One person, or 3.1%, said it was a shared hallucination. Two people, or 6.3%, says it was a ghost. Three people, or 9.4%, say other. Let's see. 6 people, or 18.8%, say it was a costumed weirdo. 8 people, or 25%, say it was a hoax. And let's see, the final one, the winner is 12 people, or 37.5%, say it was ET/NHI mischief. I'm going to go with the majority on this one. I think it was ET/NHI mischief. That's what I think. I think that was an extraterrestrial creature. That's what I think it was. In clown's clothing. That's what I say. So I agree with the majority on that one. Okay, and for the most recent episode, new AARO director John T. Kozlowski testifies to Senate Committee about UFOs. I asked this question: will AARO, under the leadership of its new director John Kozlowski, ever prove instrumental in revealing the truth about the alien presence? 33 votes so far. A mere 7 people, or 21.2%, say yes, while 26 people, or 78.8%, say no. Based on my comments previous, of course, I agree with the majority. No, we're never going to get anywhere with AARO. It's not designed to work that way. In fact, I'm trying to wonder now why Congress even established this thing. I really don't know. I really don't know why it was set up the way it was. I think somebody else should pick the director for something like this, not the Pentagon. If you're going to have investigate the Department of Defense for keeping a secret about UAP and alien biologics, you don't have to let the Pentagon pick the director of the organization that's supposed to investigate. It doesn't make any sense. Again, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, one other thing I want to, actually a couple of things I want to talk about. One of the things I want to talk about, there's something I never do on this show, and I should be doing it more often. In fact, I've been told by the woman that I need to start doing it more often. I need to ask people to subscribe and like things that I post, please. So yes, I need to start doing that more often. I don't usually do that. I never even think of it most of the time, and I should think of it if I want to be serious about what I'm doing. So please, if you like what I'm doing, if you like the shows I put out there, if you come back here and watch these on a regular basis and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And also, if you like the video, please like it or dislike it. If you don't like it, then just give it a thumbs down on YouTube. Whatever you want. Just do something, right? Please. Thank you. And one other thing I want to point out to the Spotify users, I posted a 4-minute long video yesterday on YouTube. I did not post it on Spotify because of music copyright concerns, among other reasons. It was a 4-minute video. It's more of a visual thing. And it was called it's called Absolute Proof of the Non-Human Intelligence on Earth. And it was just a 4-minute short. It was a special piece. And I've received a lot of positive comments so far, mostly positive comments from people on there about this video. And I want to say thank you for all those positive comments from the people on YouTube. But I will leave the link in the description on Spotify for people who who don't know about this little video that I made yesterday. But I thought it turned out really well. It took me all day yesterday to make it. And I just want to say thank you for everyone on YouTube who gave me positive comments on that. I really appreciate it. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up here today early. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.